Christmas, everyone. It's gone. That's it. That's all you forget.
My mic is down.
Everyone's doing bloopers.
Hi guys! So, as you can see, this is a little special festive episode for all the creators and all the brands that have been listening, watching us this past year. I feel like it's quite crazy that we've started recording in January, guys.
I know, it's only a year.
Yes, so it's a little anniversary for us too. Chatting all about UGC. It's quite cute that we're having our anniversary in a festive period, isn't it? We thought that this was going to be quite a nice way to sum up the year, because I feel like as creators, as brands, obviously it does mean a little something to end the year on a positive note, to then start refreshed, new year, new me, and UGC and everything. So I think it would be quite nice to share our little resolutions for the new year and have some festive cheer together.
From a personal perspective, of course, but also from a personal perspective, why not? Because we're also humans. It's not just we know everything about UGC and that's it. So yeah, hopefully you kind of got the point about the podcast and what we're doing here, but also you got a bit of a grasp about the people behind it, and hopefully we gave you a bit of more a human feeling as well, not just the professional side of it. So yeah, it would be great to start just looking back and seeing. I think from the fact that we started working together, the three of us, just starting giving feedback to the creators, which I think that was a huge impact to all the creators on the platform, to be honest. And I think to the well-being of the platform itself, for just from the perspective of a brand, and seeing that the creators are taking feedback nicely. The brands, I don't know if they're all aware that we might need to mention this in our newsletter probably, that the creators are getting feedback from you guys. So it would be nice for the brands to also know. I tell brands in our demo calls that we have the two of you giving feedback to the creators, but the rest of the brands don't know. So I think it would be a nice way for them to learn about it. So yeah, going from having you joining the team as giving feedback to the creators, to then realizing hey, we actually have a lot to talk about on the UGC side, so why don't we start a podcast? So yeah, here we are. I think we started filming in January, February.
I think it was February we started.
Right?
Well, we were doing calls in January, so basically how this all came about, I guess we could go back to the very start, is we were having calls every week, just for us starting off to give feedback and week questions, and just kind of work catch-ups, you could call it. And then every time we would come on calls, it started becoming my favorite time of the week, because they used to be evening times we used to do them.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting up in my office at night times, and we would just go on for it was supposed to be maybe half hour max, and it would be 2 hours, and we'd still be going and then it was all I think it was Maria dropped it first potentially, or maybe Nicola, I can't remember, but someone was this would be great to actually share this with other people, because we all loved how we were chatting and different opinions, what people thought, and even about the industry, because before then we were we've no one to really talk to this stuff about, and we don't know if it's right, if it's wrong, and it's sometimes nice to get different opinions too. So I feel that's where it went. But you did not know, for anyone listening, that this was a thing until May? Was it?
Yeah.
So
no, I think June actually.
Was it June?
Yeah.
So basically we were filming, talking, doing all this since January. However, we were perfecting our craft.
Get 3 perfectionists on a podcast.
Oh god.
We hated. So originally this all started trying to do Zoom. We tried different platforms, we tried different things, trying to work out our filming setups and everything to get to where we are now. And don't get me wrong too, I still feel we're improving. And even I talk, because I would love to, I don't want to, but I would love to watch back some of our first ones, because I'm sure you all, we were so rigid, and we were awkward. We were talking normal.
Innocent.
As soon as we knew it was recorded, we were So what do you think? And it was
It was really cringe. I think. I think we actually we reshoot
We
it.
re-recorded
We
all of them.
some
recorded
episodes.
the first 3 episodes,
Yeah, the
4
first 3.
episodes, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because I think the main reason, the initial reason for that was that we switched from Zoom to
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
to this
Riverside.
platform that we're using now. And I think that was the main reason. But funny enough, I think every time someone asks me like, how did that podcast like come around? Like it's it's just like random. And I always say to them, there was basically 3 girls having too much fun on a meeting.
We're like, let's share this. We'll tell people.
It basically was that because it's I think we mentioned that before in the previous episodes as well, is that in our industry, it obviously there's a lot of people and it's very digital, but sometimes it is a very much like one person's band, right? So it's you do everything and you don't have the second set of eyes to lay on your content, but also just to chat about it, daily challenges, what we go through, like find solutions together.
Yeah.
When we get together, anytime I have an issue with anything, I know that these girls at some point are going to figure it out if I can't. And it, honestly, it definitely turned from something like a professional meeting to just like a lifelong friendship now.
Yeah.
Because we can really count on each other. And I think we've been extremely lucky to, looking back at January when we started chatting on Zoom, to being in London together a month ago and finally meeting in person. Guys, 11 months, of working so closely together without actually seeing each other in real life. And that was very special. And Maria, I don't know if you realize how special really that was, because that weekend is still very much in my heart and my head.
I won't lie, I came home and slept for like 3 days. I was like wrecked, but I had the best weekend.
Yeah, crazy 11 months to meet every week because we are recording this every Wednesday, guys.
I talk to you more than I talk to some of my friends in terms of like now I've started doing my friendship group Wednesday waffles, but this was the first waffle of Wednesday because we were always on talking every day and like what was going on, like even like for me talking about planning my wedding, you even getting mochi too. You just got mochi, like Maria, you going traveling to Japan and stuff, like all the different things over the past year.
I got my citizenship as well.
Because she's doing paperwork. I know.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? Like life moments,
Exactly.
I feel like for all of us, Wednesday kind of became like a pink therapy day.
Literally.
when we would just for the first 20 minutes, obviously professionally you would call a day warm up, but actually for us it was just chatting away about catching up on everything. So it's massive to see your own improvement as well, and also how much there is still to improve. And it's quite inspirational, really.
I feel like we'll look back this time next year when we're doing another Christmas special and we'll be like, oh, like we done this or that, and then we'll be like, but look now, which I love because it's always so nice.
Yeah.
And I feel like too, it's so lovely having like you two as like we co-host too, because I feel like we're all different, but we're also similar in like in ways that then we're like we are all little perfectionists, or we want things done a certain way, and like it's so nice as well to meet that, because I think us, now that we obviously all do work for ourselves, that it does get lonely sometimes, and you sometimes miss that like just chatting, and also too I find and you sometimes, if you're working with other people, or if you were in like we all had jobs working for other companies, whatever, like sometimes in those situations you're working with people that just don't care or get it as much as you do. So for me, that's what's been so lovely about this, is the fact that you are just as passionate and care just as much as I do, and it's nice to have a little area to come and just talk about UGC and like proper get down into like, well, I think this and I think that, and so
it's a safe space at the end of the day, right? Because at the end of the day we're trying to be as legit as possible, as real as possible, because we don't want to, I mean, that's what we are as a I think first Clip as a company, and then also I was also lucky to find you too, because you are also very transparent people in general, and you're just like upfront with everything. So I think that also made it more powerful in terms of like you being honest and transparent as a brand, as a team, you know. So yeah, I think a really lucky year for me as well. Also, I think for me, but this is also from 2023, but we can count that 2020 as 2024 was having Andrea as well, like finding
Yes.
Andrea too, because she is such an amazing person. Like honestly, I think
She's
it's
so
the
talented, so young. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly.
she's got it.
Her work ethics
Yeah.
are
Yeah,
incredible.
it's just incredible. Like she's only 23, but she's like, I think it's just she has a like a fire in her that just wants to do like good. She's also a perfectionist, and that's why I think.
But she's not scared of her own voice, which I think as me,
Yeah.
like I will say as a 23-year-old, I had a strong work ethic. I was definitely confident enough. However, in situations with people older than me, I definitely did not have the confidence in my voice in terms of if I thought something and I didn't agree with something or I had a different point of view, saying
Yeah.
that. Whereas at that age, I think she is so good at just being able to like say what she thinks or bring ideas to the table without being scared of like, oh, someone might not agree with this or that,
Yeah.
which I think is an amazing thing to have
Yeah.
at 23.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Crazy. And we had her on a podcast twice. She's
Yeah.
been
Twice
on live
now.
with us. So she's a part of the podcast as well. She's
Yeah.
a part of our little team. And it's amazing. It's amazing to have such like girlhood between us.
Yeah.
But also I didn't want you to think that I was just rude on the phone, but I was actually doing some maths, some girl maths.
Okay.
It looks like, so our average episode was about 60 minutes recording, right?
Recording.
Most
okay.
of it more.
I was like,
More than that, but average. So it looks like we've spent at least 3,300, no, sorry. Yes, 3,300,000 minutes recording this year together. So if you think about it,
That's a lot of time.
if you divide that by 60, that's 54 hours, girls.
Yeah.
54 hours of just
and it's
chatting
definitely
away.
more than that too.
It's more than that
yeah.
too. I've been trying to put it to 65
we'll
average.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think our average episode length is like 40 minutes probably.
Once we edit, it gets down to that.
Once we added it's 40 minutes. But yeah. Oh gosh, the editing as well. This just
I know.
It's all the part of the process. Yeah, guys, if you think that this is all coming easy, we're actually editing all of those episodes ourselves.
Yeah. And the little social media like snippets as well of the actual videos. I'd love to ask you too. So I'd love to know from both of you, what is your personal and professional like highlights from the last year? Because I think it's important too, because we talk, yes, a lot about business in here, but also personal, because like people, it's their life, they're doing those things. So Nicola, I'm going to put you in the spot and go first with you, because you're the first on my screen I can see.
Same.
Okay, so I think on the personal note, getting Mochi, our dog, for sure. That was, and it was very early in the year, so we had the whole year of just joy together, mess and joy. But definitely he's been the highlight. And I'm not gonna lie, he made me grow as a creator too. He opened a lot of new opportunities, and he's such natural too. So definitely he would be my personal favorite moment and highlight. Professionally, I have to say, and I think this is probably something that just comes to mind straight away, and Ali, I wouldn't be surprised if you say the same thing, but definitely connecting with you girls on that level of realizing that I'm more than a creator. I can actually be almost, counseling and helping others grow, which I feel like before this year, I would never even think about it. I would never even consider myself as someone who can share it in a way that's hopefully easy to digest and, not too much. So both the feedback and the podcast really made me realize that I am so much more than a creator. And I think professionally, that was definitely the biggest highlight, which was kind of going on for a while, but it was like a stretched out highlight for sure.
I think I have two, to be honest, because I can't really just say one, because both of them are very important to me. And I think the first one would be making it to Japan. And I think that was a very big thing for me, because that's what I think that was my dream trip. I think you girls know about this because
Oh,
we
you
talked
loved
in
it.
ours, yeah. But it was my literally my dream trip, like since I was in uni, probably. Maybe more than that, but I didn't know about it. I think it was just very deep somewhere in my brain or in my heart or whatever it was. It was a big accomplishment for me. And then I think just getting the citizenship, that was also a big highlight.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really easy, but I think it was just I think it went so smoothly in a way that I felt like it was such a right thing to do. So yeah, I'm just very proud of being British now,
Whoop, whoop.
officially.
British citizen.
British citizen. I also got my passport, so I have a British passport now too. So now I'm both Romanian and British. So yeah, big accomplishments for me. From a professional level, I think I would say that starting a podcast, I think that was my biggest accomplishment, to be honest, because I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm launching ads every week. There will be ads that might perform really well, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's really cool. I'm really proud of it." But it's been so regular now for me that I feel like it's not necessarily an accomplishment anymore. Um, However, I'm still like pursuing the great like ad that ever exists. I'm still trying to find it, but it's a never ending story, as you probably know. So yeah, going back to the podcast, I think this was my biggest accomplishment for this year, because I hate speaking in public, put into the spotlight. And I think you probably noticed in our first episodes that I was just so bad, because you two have the experience of like talking in front of the camera, being out there, like, but for me, it was just getting out of my comfort zone so much, that I was just like, because when I initiated this and I said like, oh, let's do it. I didn't know what am I getting into,
Yeah,
to be
fun.
honest. Because I was like, oh, it's just fun, we just talk,
Yeah.
like it's fun. But once you hit that record button, everything changes,
Yeah.
Reality changes.
I feel like though that's such a good point, because even like, yes, me and Nicola are used to like, we're content creators, or alright, and we film videos and we're used to talking to camera. But that was a shock to me too, that I was like, it was so uncomfortable to start trying to like, of having
It's
to
different content form. It's
yeah,
long,
it's complete
long content
yeah.
form. So it's a different part of your brain that's completely immersed
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
completely switched on for, over an hour. There were podcasts that after them I needed to have a nap.
Yeah.
I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
But
this
some,
is
yeah, because it's like
it for today.
listening, trying to like listen, and then it's trying to like ask good questions back, but also
Yeah.
not over talking anyone, which is hard when it's online sometimes, because there can be delays. You're like, oh shit, sorry, you go. But like that,
Yeah.
I think for all of us that is like a big one too.
Yeah.
I'd say for mine, like personal, I got married this year, which is mad.
Yay!
So I got married to my little childhood sweetheart, you could say. So we got married this year, which was lovely and amazing, and it was fun planning all that. And I think personally too, this was a year for my friends' weddings and like hen parties and stags. It was a busy year, but it was unreal in terms of, it was definitely the year of weddings. For professional, I would probably say kind of, you did steal my Nicola, I won't lie.
I told
But
you.
it kind of is that element of, obviously, like for anyone that's listening or it's listen to earlier podcasts, like both me and Nicola worked within agencies, and we then went freelance without our own. I'm now a year and a half as such in business, so technically I started last, but by this time last year I was already in. But I do think January was the starting point of, right, head down, let's get into this and work everything out. And I definitely think that this did open up my eyes to, it probably helped, I guess, in an element of like imposter syndrome, because a lot, and I'm sure you guys have this too, that a lot of the time you think, they're so good, they know all that, and you don't really know
who am I to do it? Yeah.
You're like, who am I, or why do people care? Why would they even listen to me? That kind of helped then in terms of, it gave me a bit of confidence in myself, that I was like, I think I do know stuff. I don't know everything, but I was like, I know some stuff, but it gave me confidence in the fact that I actually know maybe this does come more naturally to me than I give myself credit for, in terms of like, I love thinking of brainstorming or helping this and that. Definitely the year of like, this sounds so soppy, but believing in myself for being a business owner, for like, you know what, just let this is. And also too, for the amount of people out there that like do work for companies. It's the fact of like, you can do something on your own, you can run your own business, you can do freelance and work and get to meet so many amazing people like the likes of yous. That's just so lovely. The fact that if someone had said to me 5 years ago, you're going to be able to work for yourself, you're going to meet amazing people, that when you work with them, it doesn't even feel like work. Because it's not until this that I actually believe that saying of like, it doesn't feel like work. I was like, how? Bullshit. But like, honestly, I think that's just such a nice revelation to have this year, is the fact that it's like, it's possible to work with so many amazing people that are actually, it doesn't feel like work, and it's an absolute blessing to get to work with.
Also, I did forget to mention, and you just reminded me, I did go freelance this year as well.
I was going to say that. I was like, that's a big thing.
Because it just feels like eternity already. It feels like it happened years ago.
You forget, don't you? Yeah.
But it only happened the end of March. So it's not even a full year yet. So definitely, I feel like this call is a great opportunity for all of us to give ourselves more credit for what we do, but also for the creators and brands that are listening to us right now. Give yourself more credit. Think about your accomplishments and really look at it. Because I just turned freelancer after all these years pursuing it, and I don't even remember when it happened. Like, that's sad. We need more time for like contemplating what's happened, how we got there, what's the next thing.
You created employment for yourself. I always love that. It's like you were able to employ yourself, which I think is such a lovely thing to think. But I think that, and definitely for creators too out there, that even, for example, if you only started UGC or you started the last year, take credit for the fact that like, it's such a fun, exciting industry, and it's only getting started. And that's what I love about it, because like, it is literally only, and for brands too, like if you've like just launched a product or you're just trying different things, like look at your progress, because we don't sometimes stop and actually, like, I will find myself sometimes being like, Alison, you literally get to work for yourself now. This, if you had told yourself years ago, like, you would not have believed it. Like, it's such, and you do forget it sometimes, how lucky you are and how you do take it for granted. So I think that's a little nice nugget of like, just appreciate it.
It's sad in a way, but it's just like understandable, because we're still caught in our like daily, routine. We're still caught in our like normal lives. Like, just wake up, you just wash your face, you just go to do this and that, and then you start, filming, or you start replying to emails, and it's just like you have so many other tasks and you just like forget. And then I don't know how I managed to actually find moments in day, like very random, I just have this feeling of, oh my God, I'm so lucky, I'm so grateful for being here. But it's just like, I'm just writing an email, and then I realize I'm just going to admit it, and there's days when there's tears of joy in my eyes, because I feel
so
like
lovely.
An affirmation queen.
I mean, it's just like, I feel like I'm just replying to emails, and then it's probably an email where the brand is just like being like, oh, thank you so much for doing this for us, blah blah, and I'm just like, shit, I've done this, we've done this,
you
like,
feel fulfilled.
Exactly. So then I'm just like, I'm so grateful for being here and just being in this moment, because I don't know tomorrow what's going to happen, So I've managed to train my brain to do that somehow. I don't know how. I don't have a
That's
recipe,
really good.
but I used to. I'm not doing it anymore, but I do, like, 5 things that you're grateful for in the morning. These kind of things can help you like trigger those emotions during the day.
It's a habit then that you'll keep.
That you have to build.
Also, I think this brings us nicely to the next point, which was, the things that we want to apply to our lives next year for a better start, for like what we're planning to. And I feel like affirmation is such understated thing to do, because everyone knows about manifestation and meditation, all of those things, but actually affirming yourself in who you are, what you have, and actually giving gratitude to that, I think is so underwhelmed. And I'm definitely putting that on my board for next year.
I would say as well, and I highly recommend anyone listen, and for you to do as well, every single night that you go to bed, and I do this with James every single night, that now I've trained him that if I forget to say it, he'll say it. Always the first thing before you go to bed, go, what is good about your day? And like we both do it every night. And I read it in a book years ago, and I was like, I'll go and do this. But now it's became like a ritual for us. So we'll always say, just before we go to bed, what was the good thing about your day? And we'll both list off something. And that could be like in work, in personal life, something someone done. Like for he one time, like, you cooked a lovely meal and I really appreciate that. Like those wee bits, because then you go to bed just happy, and it's just training your brain again for like a grateful. Because even if you have a shit day, because that's why it's so good, it's for the days that are good. It doesn't make a difference. You're happy, you're in a good mood. But it's the days that you're having a shit day that if you can then be like, you know what, searching, replaying your day in your mind, there will always be something good.
I'll try to do it from next year. Yeah,
I'll message you every night at like 10:30.
Yeah.
Like, what was good about your day? What was good?
Send me a voice note. Voice note me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying now, and I'm trying so hard, but I will try it. I will definitely want to implement it more next year, is the fact that I should just let go of things that I can't control. To be honest, I've become better now, because I'm seeing it in normal like daily like things in my life, you know, because obviously professionally speaking, you just want to be perfect. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but then like there are situations, for example, where the creator is not replying, they got the product, and then you're just like, what can you do about this? There's nothing you can do. The frustration is there, but then I mean, there were so many situations like this. At this point, I'm just like, there's nothing I can do.
I think anyway, like that's something's definitely of mine, that I do get annoyed about things, or things will bother me, that then I'm like, I have no control over this. That then I am hoping that in time it'll just be like a muscle flex. I'm like, oh, it is. Okay, move on. Next thing.
Yeah.
That is my goal as well. I feel like I'm working on that quite hard as well, but maybe not enough. My kind of origin that I think it's because my parents were that way. You know, they were workaholics with their own family business, and that's a very specific mindset that you're growing up with when your parents have their own business, because they just work for themselves, so they always put 1,000%. That's all theirs, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like when I saw my parents stressing about something, then I kind of took it, like, always prevent those situations too. So even when I was employed by someone else, I had the same mindset. But I think it's very hard to get rid of it, because it's so like engraved in you, especially when you grow up with it. Just let it go. Obviously it's different for us as creators and for you, Maria, because you have kind of both sides shouting at you at the same time. But for us, it's like if you can't control something, but you know that it will be done, all you can do is follow up, but you can't hold that in you. Yeah, exactly. Just let it go.
Yeah, and so because even for me, like now into the next year, like I have a little freelancer. Not that I have her doing loads at the minute, but that's definitely a goal of mine going forward, is to actually be able to let go of stuff that I don't need to be doing every day, that I can give to someone else. But as someone who is a self-proclaimed control freak, I do find that hard, and it is just being like, they may not do it your way, that's okay, and as long as they do it their own way and it's done to the standard that you want, that it is important. But another thing that I actually use way too much and probably shouldn't, worst case scenario theory. So basically, if something's happening, say a brand comes back and like they're not happy, and you're like, oh my god, they're so annoyed at me, and you start like spiral. I'm just using a random example here. If you find yourself worrying about things, always look at the worst case scenario. So what's the worst case scenario come out of the brand doing that? They'll be like, right, we want you to do a re-edit. Worst case scenario of the re-edit, they don't like the re-edit, it's a reshoot. Worst case scenario of that, they're really cross again and they're like, we don't ever want to work with you again. Worst case scenario, you're like, I'm crap at doing this, I give up the entire UGC thing and I'll never do it again, life's over. Worst case scenario, I'm unemployed, I'm homeless, nothing's working. So the point of it is to be really dramatic, like what is the worst out of everything? And when you do that, you realize how ridiculous and stupid it sounds. That then you're like, it's not that deep, it's not that big a deal. And then it like switches your brain to like, oh, it's fine. And then you move on.
Yeah, it's like that TikTok when it's like, when you forget to CC someone on email and you're like, your world is crashing.
Yeah.
Oh,
but actually,
yeah.
Because then it makes you see like this overview of everything that you're like, that is so tiny in the grand scheme of things, that then it tricks your brain to be like, okay, wise up, move on, it's fine.
Well, I'm letting things go, to be honest, a lot now since I first started my journey as an entrepreneur. But the perfectionist thing is still a bit there.
Because I feel like we do it for a very long time before we realize, right?
Yeah, it was probably like 2-3 years ago or something like that. Yeah.
I was gonna say there, you're on about that. I was like, I've known I'm like this since like school of being like, right, calm the fuck down, Alice. No one else cares as much. You know, we just have it like, why do I care so much?
Like just realizing it, because I mean I knew that it was there, you know, somehow, because in my case it was also coming from childhood of the parents being like, oh, you need to be better, you need to do better,
Yeah.
like at school and stuff like that. And I'm sure these are most of the times the case where it's the
Overachievers.
situation. Overachievers, you know, and you'd be like, why didn't you do better than, you know, George? And you'll be like, but because I'm not George, you know. So you don't realize it, of course, as you grow up. You just keep going into that mindset because that's what you have been shown, and this is how you think, oh, that's how the world works, you know. But then you start meeting other people, and they're just like, why are they so relaxed about things,
I'm
you
like,
know? And
How?
what do I do now? Like, are my parents right? Are these people right? Because once you start going out and once you start getting to know other people, you start, you know, your eyes are opening more, and then you realize it at some point that this is not okay because it's affecting your life most of the times, right? Because it's not just professional, because you will do it in a professional environment most of the times, but it's also affecting your daily life, your personal life, like, you know.
I think it's when you start dating or you're in like long-term relationships. To me anyway, that was the moment of like,
same,
we're so different. But I think it's the best learning curve too, the fact that once you socialize, and this is why I advise anyone, mix with as many different people from as many different backgrounds, because not until you do that will you realize that every family, every person is different. Because not until I was like going out with James, I was like, your family does this, that's so weird, but like my family does that, he finds that weird. And like, you do, as you said, Maria, you assume the way you've been brought up, that's the right, because you always will put your parents on a pedestal, because your parents, they brought you up, they know what's right. Whereas it isn't until that you go out and see the real world, which I personally think is such a good thing, because then you learn, okay, but what do I think? And when you have these different opinions, then you're like, okay, I understand they done what they did, because they done the best they could with the tools they had. However, now in my life, well, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to take that, but I'm going to take that, and you're going to make your own thing. That's a big thing, because a lot, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, or if you're freelance, you're going to your own business, you need to be able to be flexible and do different stuff. Whereas if you've just been
100%
head straight, this is how it's done, this is the way it is, that's not always going to work.
Oh my god, the amount of time that you need to adjust, and the amount of times that you're not going to do what you were supposed to do.
You can't
like,
really hold on to things.
No, it's impossible, and it is going to be a huge mistake if you do that, you know.
What would you say is like going into the new year in terms of like managing your day that we could advise people that is such a good way? Because I will lie to you, when it comes to working for yourself, that is by far the biggest thing sometimes that people can struggle with, is the fact of structuring their days, or thinking like, you know, how will I stay motivated to do what I need to do or to get where I need to be? So even Maria, for you first, because I know you're like a little bit more structured in terms of like you like, obviously 4 o'clock and whatnot, that you have more of a team, whereas obviously whereas us two were kind of more out on our own. Like, how do you find that, or any advice?
I need an advice too, to be honest, because it's just like it's just a slippery slope, because you feel like you have time in the day, because obviously there's nothing else you need to do, but then you just realized, oh gosh, it's already 4 o'clock, you know, and you just still have to reply to emails, you still have a lot of things to do. What I've learned is to prioritize tasks. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're either entrepreneur, if you're freelancer, mainly if you're doing your own thing, I think just prioritize your tasks. Because if I pull out my notebook now and I'm going to show you my list, it's a 1-page list of tasks. Like, it's not in a chance it's not going to happen today or tomorrow or the next week. So you just have to be real to yourself. So what I do, I just put a list with everything that I need to do, and then from there I just try to prioritize. So I just put P1, P2, P3, P4, whatever. Is this task going to change the number of clients that I'm going to get? Is this task going to get more creators active on the platform. And I think this is the hardest part to decide, is it P1 or a P2? Because the rest of them is fine. It's just the, whatever, 3, 4, 5. P1 and P2, which how you,
Non-negotiables.
like, and then you feel like, okay, but like both of them are P1, but then I don't have the time to do everything now, and I need to like just do something so I then don't feel like shit, you know? So be realistic in terms of your task, because everyone wants to obviously do a lot of things in a day, but unfortunately you only have 24 hours. I haven't been that structured, to be honest, and I think this is another thing that I want to do. I'm going to literally put in my calendar like blocks of things, because I think that's the only way it's just going to work. I just opened the admin and then I'm just like, okay, let me just check messages, and then I'm just like, I see a message and there's something wrong about it, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to email the brand, I need to email the creator, and then I'm just like, oh, now I'm in the emails, I need to reply to emails back again. And then I'm just like, oh, shit, I need to go back into the admin to check the rest of the messages, and so on. So there's so many like external factors. Yeah, so many. Like if I don't get more structured, I'm just going to lose it. So it's not okay. I think just prioritize your task. This is the main thing, and then have your own structure. For me personally, it's going to be just putting blocks in my calendar and not just get notification, this is what you're doing now. Sometimes there are also tasks that I can postpone, and I'll be like, oh, not today. It's not going to affect the company that much, so I can just leave it for tomorrow, whatever, next week, next month. And then it keeps dragging so long that I'm just like not proud of myself anymore. So we're doing contracts now, and it's just taking so long because it's a lot of like legal terms and stuff like that. And I just had to go through just the brand's contract. Was just a draft, right? And I just had to comment on every like thing that was highlighted, and I was just like, nah, like this is not fun at all. It's not something that just like makes me, happy in a way,
fun work.
It's not fun work, because most of the times everything I do is fun work. Even replying to emails, I finally made it, I think 3 weeks ago or something like that.
Well done.
I was so proud of myself, because when I ticked that task, I was just like, oh
Weight
my
off
God.
the shoulders.
This tax has been there for 3 months and it's ticked off now.
Exactly. So not a good strategy on that side either. But next year, I will probably try to do the non-fun stuff first and get it out of the way.
And reward yourself.
Yeah, with the fun stuff.
And then push myself of being like, okay, you've done that. Now you have the drive to do whatever other things you are supposed to do.
You need to do the dinner before you eat dessert. You have to do it.
Exactly.
To deserve it. For me, I don't know if you girls heard of the Kanzen philosophy.
Yeah.
It's like when you want to perfect your craft or your system, is to find small ways to improve little things. So parts of your system, like not change everything at once, because it's just going to overwhelm you and you're not going to change anything, right? So I think to do it a little at a time, I think would be my goal. And that would be something that I think could help some people too, is because I am so easily overwhelmed when I see loads of things at the same time. Like when I want to improve everything at once, if I want to create a system for myself, like in 1 hour, it's not going to happen, because then I'm going to be like, crying inside, Finding your system takes a while, finding the tools that kind of work together. And I think for us, it's so important, because like you want to minimize the time that you spend on things you enjoy the least, or like that have to be done, but it's not actually what brings you money at the end of the day, right? So obviously for us, like as we're focusing on the content creation side of things, we unfortunately cannot be as, we can't have daily blocks where we do the same things at the same time, because the beauty of the industry and the beauty of that job is that not a day looks the same, right? But it's a beauty, but it's also a curse, right? Because you just can't stay organized as much as you would want to be, because I would love to have just like blocked out times in a day. Obviously everyone would, but it's just simply impossible, because you've got different lighting in the bathroom this time of the day, different light, so you need to be smart about planning your days ahead. But what I would say is, though, to the last hour of your day, whichever time you finish, 5 p.m, 6 p.m, whatever you decide, is to actually sit down and write your non-negotiables for the next day.
Brain dump it,
That is a game changer, because when you put all your, I think it is from that productivity calendar, isn't it, Ali? The non-negotiables things. I really want to get that calendar. That's on my list.
It's good,
for the Secret Santa. So I hope my Secret Santa watched this. But because I feel like the non-negotiables, it just sets you up for success. Because at the end of the day, what you want to achieve is to be proud of your day, be proud of yourself, what you achieved, be like satisfied with what you've achieved. Because there's nothing more like frustrating and sad than you closing your laptop and be like, I just wasted a day.
At the start as well, I feel like when you go out your one or you're doing stuff, like you do end up doing that because you feel like overwhelmed or overstimulated with all the stuff. But what I do, I'm a wee bit different from anyone listening to. For Nicola, that I do UGC, but I also do like social media management and then agency project management too. So I'm a little bit in between in terms of I can have a little bit more structure because certain things will always stay the same, but then the UGC side of stuff and content creation isn't. But the way I do it is on Notion, I have reoccurring to-dos, and my philosophy is a bloody to-do list. Like, there's nothing better than the dopamine hit of ticking off. But I take the piss. I will literally have like the tiny little things I have to do. Even if I've completed stuff already, I'll write it on the to-do list and then tick it because I'm like, oh, yeah. What I do is I have my reoccurring things I have to do every day, but I also do time blocking in terms of my morning. I would love to be able to do a full day time block. I've tried many times to get a full day time block, but I can't stick to it. So at the minute I'm trying to, the new year, that's the plan. But I do like my 8 to 9, 9 to 10. I do my kind of my admin structured stuff that I have to do every day. And that's every single day. That's up until my 9 o'clock. If I'm doing it properly, I try to put a walk in there, but I don't do it because a lot of the time, I'm sure he's going to agree to when you're self-employed, you may have the best intentions of having this is your structure in your day, but as soon as things get busy or stressful, for me anyway, it goes out the window. So that's something I need
out of the window.
But then I have my little time blocks. But typically I try to schedule my week that I'll have my Monday, Tuesday is my admin days and things. And also to what Maria's saying there is something I need to do more, and you've kind of reminded me, Maria, is prioritizing if your to-do lists are actually going to improve the business. Because so many times you can waste time on doing things that literally will have no improvement.
Pointless.
They're pointless, and like they'll take so much time and they'll be finicky, or else you'll be putting off things and not realizing that's important. If I just fix that now, that will actually help me down the line. So definitely say prioritizing things that will actually, asking those questions. That's such a good tip of asking, like, does that actually work? Will that make life easier? And if it does, do it, get it done. So doing that, and also time blocking. I then have it, my second part of the week is like dedicated to the content that UGC. However, as we all know with lighting, that can go tits up. So for example, if I have products and I have videos that I need to film and I know I've got a plan for later in the week, but today is a beautiful sunny shining day, the day gets flipped. I'm like, for example, for me, Monday, typically I never film. Monday's always my like admin, like sitting down, catching up with clients, doing calls, that's those kind of days. This Monday was the sunniest Monday it has ever been. So I was filming. It's like, I need to. And thank God that I did, because today I was going to be filming and it's just cloudy and it's given the week rain. My goal would be to proper get a good time block that I can stick to. At the minute, I have my mornings perfect, but I need to get my afternoons because I feel like things just go out the window then and it's not as good.
So work, you have to also work with a season, work, like make sure that like what works in January is not going to work in August. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to leave yourself that flexibility in terms of like, I'm not necessarily like a creature of habit. I can be quite spontaneous and I'm okay with changes during the day. And that also has to do with like the family business environment I grew up with. We needed to be ready. We had to be able to do stuff when it was least expected. It doesn't change the fact that I would love it to be more structured and I would, love to get to the point where I can actually manage my time in the way that all I care about is if I'm satisfied at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If I'm happy with what I've done, what I've created, what I've done. And the problem is that obviously I'm full-time UGC now. So every day is a content day. Doesn't matter. It's like there's projects lining up every day. So it's just no one size fits all solution, isn't it? It's just ways to work out. But definitely connecting the tools together and finding the system that works for you is the key, I think, because there's so many things. And I feel like it's so important to test things out. Ali, you found your Notion and it's just like your gold mine. You've got everything and it just
My
makes you
brain
happy.
hub.
Exactly. I've got a couple of sheets that I have always on, because I have one that's like Trello, that's like my brain dump, but it's also, I've got all the active, all the pending, all the submitted, all the invoices, everything is there. Notion, I think, is amazing for people like you, Ali, who just loves to have it all just perfect. And I would love to be that person, but it's just overwhelming for me to think about creating a list that does it all. Gives me anxiety, and it's probably not worth it. So what I do is, like, I have my little tabs that I have it separated. So it kind of is a little bit easier on my brain. But this is just to find out what works for you. And maybe I think it works for me, but maybe I just haven't figured it out. And, you need to still be open to find solution that works best. But it's just those little improvements that you can do every day. And also, the last thing is stay organized, stay on top of your taxes, stay on top of expenses. This is like always non-negotiable.
On that one too, I think because I've now moved myself over to Zero. I did not realize I'd have to manually do all of my like transactions. I thought it would just have linked up nicely with my bank, but I had to manually like reconcile everything. But that'll be my new thing too. At the end of every week, to keep on top of it, I will be doing my reconciliation that I know done, that I can move on. Because like those are the bits too. Like, yes, we all have our everyday things that we do, but I think even too, like monthly, I want to be checking like, okay, how did I do this month? What areas can I put more into the business, or is there any other like opportunities I could be like carving out and seeing as well? So I think it's just having even business days that you just do like an overview and see how things are going to then actually brainstorm. That's something I'd love to give myself a day. We can hope.
We can hope. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
But
at least we're admitting all these things, and we're
I'd
just
love to know what other people
aware.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all aware of the the flaws and everything, and we're just like trying to make it work.
pushing.
That's it. I think just to sum up, it was a full year of new experiences, completely new experiences for me, at least getting out of the comfort zone so much and just understanding to let things go more. Yeah, we would also love to know about yourself, if you have any thoughts about your 2024 or any New Year's resolutions that you might want to stick with next year. It can be just a very simple one. I used to do this, the new next year like resolution list. I have it on my notes every single year. So most of the times I do one or two things from that list. But even those two things, I feel
that's great success.
But I
we're
think
talking
that
about
is,
yeah. So I love to do these things, even though I'm not going to do any of it. I'm still happy. Because I put them there and I'm just thinking, okay, maybe next year is going to happen. I would never forget about them, and then once they're done, you'll just be so proud of yourself.
Imagine that feeling. Yeah.
So,
there's a guy that I watched the other day and I was like, this is amazing. I've got it like scheduled to go out my own social media for the new year for people to watch it. But basically he said every year you should have the year of X. And instead of giving yourself all these big things, and like literally one of his thing was that like, this is the year I started a podcast. And it's like thinking, all right, what next year is going to be my one thing that I'm going to do? Because then it's like, that's the year of X that you can look back then in the years, but like that year I done this, that year I done that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so nice. But also with your list, what I highly recommend, because we started doing it and I think it's always so nice, is get some Prosecco or champagne or whatever drink you fancy. Write your goals or like some things on it, and then if you complete it, open it, and then that's going to be like a little celebration. Because we've started doing that, James and I, like even when he got promoted, when I went freelance, all the different things, it's like rather than just ticking it off, me like, oh, I done that, it's making it more of like, you know what, I did that, like I'm going to enjoy this glass of Prosecco, this is great. Then it's like sitting as like a little reminder of like, oh, when I complete that, I'll get to open that, and that'll be like a nice wee evening to get to do that. So highly recommend.
Yeah, as long as you stick with but I think it's a brilliant idea, to be honest. Yeah,
it could be anything, because I've got a challenge already set out with Charlie, and it's to do, on YouTube there's like yoga challenges or Pilates challenges and stuff like that. So my January is going to be yoga January. So every day we're doing there's like a plan and there's a video a day and everything. Really good. I really recommend it. We've done it a couple of times before, especially specifically during the lockdown. That was like my life goal. That's the plan. And I think I'm going to buy a Prosecco and I'm going to put a little card on it.
When you
complete the 30-day challenge of yoga. We're gonna have a prosecco. I love that.
No, it's trying to like celebrate the little moments, because I feel like sometimes you don't
Yeah.
ever you like, think these big things, then you never get around to celebrating.
Mm,
So true.
that's so true.
But I think
Yeah.
this has been such a lovely little
Yeah.
talk, guys, and I feel like too, like, to sum it all up, Leah, like, I hope everyone has like a fantastic year, and I hope everyone takes a bit of time to sit back and actually review the year and like appreciate and be grateful for all the amazing things that have happened or are yet to come.
Just make
Yeah.
sure that you switch off a little bit. Give yourself a
Oh,
little
yeah.
reset.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I just also wanted to thank to say like a big thank you to all the creators that have been delivering amazing content on Clip so far. Really appreciate your work, your time, effort, and everything, because we all know how hard it is to create content. How time consuming it is, but still, yeah, doing an amazing job. Feel free to reach out to us again if you have any situations or questions, or just to say hi. But also to thank the brands, all the brands that started working with Clip, or the brands that just trying the Clip. They got their first campaign up and they're just trying out the Clip platform. Thanks for doing that. we're still young. It's going to be 2 years in April. I was talking yesterday with a good friend. She was looking at our Instagram or something, and she was like, "Oh wow, you've hit like 10K followers, you've grown so much, but also as a brand, not just by the fact that you have just 10K followers." And I didn't even realize it, because obviously I knew that we hit 10K, but it's one to just realize, oh, we hit 10K, that's great, and then that's another thing of being like, oh shit, we actually have 10,000 people following us for what we are and what we have done and what we are posting and who we are as a brand, and what we have achieved so far. So she was just like, "Oh, I'm really proud of you, And I was just
Aw.
like, I should be proud of me. I should be proud of myself too, But again, that's a problem, because we just get caught in the like.
It's next, yeah.
Again, thanks again to all the brands that are trying Clip at the moment, that have been loyal to the Clip platform for since we started it. We have brands that have been on the platform since May, June, like
Wow.
2023. Yeah, it's been crazy ride so far, and we are very grateful for every single brand that is on the platform, part of our family at the end of the day. And also, again, thank you for your patience for all the situations that have been a bit difficult. We're still humans. There's still mistakes that I think we wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays if you're not really celebrating Christmas, I guess, and have a Happy New Year wherever you're celebrating it, or whoever you are celebrating it with. And we'll see you next year with new fresh episodes. 2025.
How weird does that
I
sound?
know.
2025.
Bye.
Bye, girl.
Bye.
Bye, guys.